Tonight we're talking Doctor Who, Invincible, Rick and Morty, Bob's Burgers, Blue-Eyed Samurai, and a bunch more. And if you don't agree,
you're wrong.
We need to hire producers got better timing. G'day,
yes,
guys.
We do.
I'm VHS Jason, of course. There's Jason Roy Gaston. If you don't agree, you're wrong. We're back to inform, educate, entertain, and maybe annoy.
Most definitely annoy. Mate? I am wonderful. I'm ready to get this thing started because I watched a lot of really good stuff this week. And it's strange because I had a whole week off and it just seemed like I was just rushing to get everything in. And I finally did. And now I'm feeling good about myself.
Let's do it then. Let's start it with Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty.
We go. Rick and Morty. 7.
Rick and Morty.
All right, Jace, because you're so keen, I'm going to let you start this week. Let's bring up the stopwatch. You know what episode we were up to already? Episode 7.
7? That 7. Seems crazy wackadoodle.
It's wackadoodle, but
it is. It is super wackadoodle.
All right, mate, let's do it. I'm going to press that magic button. Let us know what you think of Rick and Morty.
All right, so it's kind of weird because I just said that this was a good week for television. But this was not a good week for Rick and Morty, I thought. I was not a fan of what they chose to do this week. I don't know, a movie parody of Total Recall and Taken, just to me, seemed like a step down from the high concept ideas that we've been seeing so far. And it honestly seems beneath everything else the show has done this season. I felt that the Morty voice was off this episode as well. I don't know if they recorded this episode first or what the deal was, but it just seemed weird and off. And it's honestly one of the first times I've noticed that the Morty voice is not quite right. It's the first time I thought, wow, that's not Morty. Who is that? I mean, it had some good jokes, but it felt like that they were retreading ground that they had already trod and other shows had already trod as well. I don't mind an occasional parody every now and again, but this was almost like Family Guy parody at one point. And as I said, beneath Rick and Morty, especially some of the good things that they have done this season. So quite a disappointment. And for the first time, I'm giving a thumbs down to Rick and Morty. I just did not care for this episode at all. I was bored with it.
Wow. All right. Well, I'm going to let you know how I go. I did not have the reaction you had to it. I certainly didn't think it was the strongest episode. And I certainly think the concept is something that probably belonged early in the series than it did here. My biggest fault with it, though, wasn't the concept of the Quado, because I thought that was funny. The biggest fault with it is it's a joke about a film that's 35 years old, and it's a one-joke concept. Everything else feeds off of that. So that's where, for me, I don't think the episode works. I have no issues with the voice. I think the voices are fine. It's not really bothering me at all. Yeah, it was good to have more of a summer-centric kind of episode. I thought that was a bit of a bonus for it. Although, again, I will give it this. It didn't have one joke. It had two jokes. One joke was Quado and the other one was Frolf. And that was the only two things I had with it. But yeah, it's not the strong. It's probably the weakest episode of the season, but I didn't hate it. I didn't think it was terrible. I just thought it was middling. And honestly, considering some of the garbage we have been watching in the worlds of animation, some big shows, I'm more forgiving on this episode than you are. So in saying that, I'm going to give it bringing out the apathy bear for this one and go, meh, it is what it is. All right.
That's fair. You can give it.
It's the Quado thing was like, hey man, that seems like a very Generation X joke for a show that is really yes, we're part of the audience, but we're not the whole audience. I mean, I don't know how many younger kids are going to go, what is that reference to? Like, at all, you know? Yeah, that was my thing. It does feel like it's
Okay, if
guys
there's a kid who
our
does
age.
not know Total Recall, that is on them. That is
1990,
their
buddy.
failure, and it's their parents' failure if they don't know Total
1990.
Recall.
It's
19, it
almost
doesn't matter. It doesn't
34
matter.
years old.
It
With
is
a
a
16-year-old kid.
classic, though. Now, don't make me defend this episode. I'm defending Total Recall, not Rick and Morty. If you don't know Total Recall, okay, kids at home, all you young whippersnappers who are watching us two old men talk about stuff. If you do not know Total Recall, I want you to go into your restroom, you look yourself in the mirror, think about your life choices, take your right hand and slap yourself as hard as you can, and then go find Total Recall and watch it.
If you've only seen the 2012 version of Total Recall,
No,
maybe slap yourself twice.
Slap yourself twice. It is terrible
sure.
that you live in this type of state. I feel like at this point I regard you as the same as that inbred family they found in West Virginia. Just like, how do you exist like this?
It is true. I mean, hey, look, to me, it's one of the biggest like films of that era, isn't it? But yep,
It
there
is.
are
It was
kids out there
that was an
nothing
experience.
Of. If you remember when you were 16, you would think about films of what was in your zeitgeist may not have been stuff from 20 years prior. You know, so that's my theory on it. Even though, yes, we should go globally and re-educate the world, especially young kids
by
who
force.
have been denied Total Recall. Yeah.
By force.
I agree.
I remember watching the Oscars that year, and they didn't even bother with a special effects award. They were just like, hey, we're giving it to Total Recall. That's it. We're just giving it to Total Recall. No one else is nominated. Total Recall gets it.
It was also fair to be said about Total Recall, one of the last times where practical effects from that era were used in such a big budget way, because after Total Recall, we start getting Terminator and obviously Jurassic Park and things kind of move forward. So,
and of course, Total Recall's greatest contribution to pop culture.
I still do 2 weeks every time if that comes up. Hello, 2 weeks.
2 weeks. The great Margot Martindale, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right, let's move it on to
before we begin, though.
Oh.
I bet you thought I forgot.
Kind of disagree.
Bet you thought I forgot.
Yeah,
I gave it a straight thumbs down. You were more charitable. You're wrong.
I'm more charitable. There we go. Let's move on to Bob's Burgers and see what happens.
Very well.
Bob's Burgers. Oh my God, Bob's Burgers. Even if they did a show about something really horrific, like, you know, war and death and things like that, it would still be charming. This show
would
unbelievable.
I just noticed that my shirt is see-through.
It is too. I just thought it was one of those really
this
cool.
Is yellow. What?
What is it saying?
Showbiz Pizza Palace.
Oh, okay. Showbiz Pizza. Well, they get a free plug.
Yeah. Well, they've been out of business for 30 years, so that's kind of who they can get. Then that's kind of who they based the Five Nights at Freddy's game on. Was this old pizza chain? Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
I always freak my students out going, hey, do you know I used to go here? And I'll show them a picture of me with Billy Bob Bear. They're like, oh, you lived. Yes, I did. I did live.
All right, I'm going to have a chat about Bob's Burgers. This week's episode was an interesting episode because I liked the episode with his dad. I really love the dad character, Bob's dad in this. I think it can see like the echoes of it. It's just so well cast because it's so complementary without being exactly the same. So I really love that. Love the storyline in the at the fair when it's raining. I have been to a fair when it's raining, and how awesome it can be when hardly anyone's there. So I really related to this week's episode. The kids, well, yeah, those kids sometimes they borderline on being delinquents, but they're just so cute and adorable that they can get away with things like trespassing and things like that. So, no, it was a very sweet episode because it was about Bob's lack of trust and him, learning maybe that there needs to be balance between being a good parent and not a controlling parent. So I thought it was a very sweet kind of episode. Always works. I mean, of course, the stealing scene for me was definitely inside the clam, the talking clam. Really, it just I thought it was awesome. But yeah, Bob's Burgers, strength for strength, great episode again for me. I'm pulling out my first Dazza thumbs up for tonight's show because this deserved it. Thank you very much, Bob's Burgers. Here we go, buddy. Your turn. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's talk about this. So I feel like I repeat myself every week with this show, but Bob's Burgers is so charming. It's like a warm blanket you just wrap yourself up in. It never gets old. It never gets stale. The characters are the true saving grace of this series because I just love the characters so much, but they haven't been flanderized yet to where they've become just parodies of themselves. And quite honestly, with Louise and Tina and Jean, I'm kind of surprised they haven't by this point because they're always showing new sides of them. I honestly don't remember Bob's dad being in any episodes, but there are quite a few episodes of the show I haven't seen. I love the character. I love the dynamic between him and the grandkids and him and Bob. Of course, Clamsterdamus just killed it for me. I thought it was such a funny gimmick and such a weird gimmick too. I don't really know if they broke in and entered because they didn't. The door was open to me. That's a criminal neglect case, if anything. But I just charming, just fun. I thought it had a nice message, and this show's wonderful. This show's absolutely wonderful. I'm gonna see your thumbs up and give it another thumbs up right here, just for good measure. Love Bob's Burgers.
It's so fun. And even they're starting to have a family argument inside there, and it's being broadcast. Like they're bickering when the dad's there. And you can clearly hear the different voices. I just thought it was great. You know, there's just nothing they can do wrong at the moment, that show. Really can't. So it's wonderful. Now, before we go into our next one, let's say hello to a few peeps who are kindly watching live.
Let's do it.
Our regular viewer, Fairy Penwings. Good afternoon, nerds. Good afternoon, sir.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Hello.
We have Maidenless Jess of Chaos. I'm so in love with New Hugh. Hey, Jay and Jace. Hey. Well, there'll be a bit of spoilers about who coming up.
Hello, Alonzi.
So yes, and of course, Aaron Sugar says, good evening, y'all. Good evening,
Aaron. Good evening to yous. Hello.
Right. Well, let's get back into it, guys. We need to talk about what we've seen next, and that is, well, we're going to change tone a little bit here, Jace, with Invincible.
Oh yes, from warm blanket to just awfulness, just awfulness from everybody, but still a great show.
All right. You're going to start this one off, mate. You ready to go about Invincible?
Let's do it. I am. So episode 4, it's called It's Been a While. So this is the Mark and Omni-Man reunion episode. Unexpectedly heartwarming at first. And I knew that the hug was there because of the comic, but still seeing it, I thought that they staged it very well. I think that I don't know. This is one of those episodes where I can see where everybody's coming from. I can see Mark's anger. I can also see why Omni-Man cannot return home. I do think he kind of jumped in bed with Bug Lady a little too soon, but whatever, that's fine. If he's not going back to his pet, he can have his new pet, I guess. Overall, it's just an episode of emotional ups and downs and unbelievable brutality inflicted on everyone. We get to see our first real, well, not really our first, but our first real Viltrumite on Viltrumite fight between two people who were not Omni-Man and Mark. I was all there for it. I was there for Omni-Man's continued growth, and I was there for a lot of things. I have a cat trying to pull on my Ethernet cord. Hold on. Stop that. That's going to be the next big fight. Overall, I think that this episode was highly enjoyable. I think that this episode was wonderfully animated and had some great character moments in it. I loved it. I love this show. This show's great. I want more. I'm giving it a thumbs up.
Right. I'm going to have a crack and talk about it now too. Here we go. This thing, not only was it violent physically, but I found it emotionally violent in that first half an hour because of what he was going through. It was still despicable what Omni-Man had done to his wife. And this whole episode, we're seeing them bond. Well, him trying to bond with his son, but for very selfish reasons. Meanwhile, it's been cut back to his ex-wife who's trying to piece her life together because of what Omni-Man had done. And I think it's such a powerful message in there talking about, in some way, Omni-Man's just trying to move on and do good, but he's taken zero responsibility for the tragedy and terror he's already caused. So, I'm very strongly on the side of screw Omni-Man, and I would have, where to go, but I would have wanted to bail immediately. But, of course, Invincible's a better person than I am, and he wants to help save the planet. This is an excellent show. I'm really digging season 2 a lot. I think this is going in directions now that are probably less predictable than first season was. So I'm thrilled at where it's going. They just don't hold back, do they, on this show? The fights, the level they take things to. It's just, it leaves you speechless at times. So, excellent show. This is not, and I repeat, it does not deserve a Dazzer at all, this show. It deserves Ultra Dazzer. This was a great, great episode for a great, great series. That's how I'm feeling anyway. But before we move on, I need to make a critical correction because my mouth that is not always corrected to my brain always seems to make a mistake. Yes, fairy penguins. I do apologise. I must have called you mate or a he. I don't know what I've done. I'll probably do it again, but know in my heart of hearts, I know that you're a lady. So
she's a lady.
Exactly.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! She's a lady.
Hey, look, I call my wife Frank occasionally. Like, I'm not good.
She's like, Daddy, stop
There's
singing,
a lady.
please.
There's a lady too. Little kitty. How is our troublemaker going tonight?
She is fine. Battle Cat was pulling on the Ethernet cord, and then here comes Murder being like, don't do that. Daddy's doing his podcast.
Oh, so sweet. So sweet.
Yeah.
But, Murder Bean is only one step away from a very freaky radioactive experiment that could turn him into part of Monarch, Legacy of Monsters.
See, you're misgendering my cat, too. You just called him a him. What is wrong with you?
I don't know. I have no idea. It's
what
all the same.
Boys, you're going to get canceled.
Same. I was cancelled before I was even started, mate. There you go. But, hey, look, the segue landed, though. It's a good segue. So let's get into Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, which I only watched this morning, to be honest with you. I only watched a couple of hours ago. So, reported last week, I wasn't super impressed with the 2 episodes. I thought they were okay. I had some problems with it. This week, I found it, I don't know, maybe it was just a different state of mind. I thoroughly enjoyed this 3rd episode. I really thought the episode was moving places. Kurt Russell's story strong. I like the young Kurt Russell story as well. They felt like there were stakes at play. Certainly with them smuggling off Japan and getting on that boat and eventually getting to that ice wherever they are in the Arctic, and come across that spoiler alert monster. That was a great storyline. And then the other storyline about them coming up against Godzilla at the Bikini Atoll was cool as, and then set up what was going to happen in the next phase without the series. I think I need to watch the episode 1 and 2 again because this gave me a very different vibe this time, and I was really locked in. So definitely a thumbs up, and I think I need to go back and watch the first 2, like I just said. So that's where I'm going to leave it at, Jace. It's definitely a thumbs up. Good episode. All right, you ready, sir?
I am ready.
Go.
Okay, so I'm going to echo that. I really enjoyed this episode. As a matter of fact, I feel like this is where the show has grown a beard so far. I enjoyed the action of them breaking out of Japan, smuggling themselves into where was it, North Korea or South Korea? I think it was North Korea. South? Yeah, they got into one of the Koreas. By the looks of it, it looked like North Korea. I don't know. I need to pay more attention to what I watch. But regardless, that and going to Alaska and finding the big spoiler alert out there was a lot of fun. I don't know if they filmed this on location or if there was green screen involved. Either way, I'm seriously, seriously impressed. And then, of course, we get the flashback story out on Bikini Atoll, which was actually part of the backstory of the first Godzilla movie, because they actually mentioned this particular incident, saying that the military tried to kill Godzilla there. So I thought that was really cool. And the fact that this spin-off series, which honestly I thought would maybe mention Godzilla 1 or 2 times, featured him up front and right there, was great. That was always one thing that bugged me about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is that they would refer to Thor, they'd refer to Captain America, but they would never even show a picture of them. This one, it's like, oh yeah, there's Godzilla, and here's Godzilla just right overhead. I enjoyed that so much. The sequence looked great, and the drama of the Doctor trying to stop them from setting the nuke off, and just the futility of it was perfect. And Blank Check, I can't wait to see where that particular storyline goes next. I'm a fan of this show. I'm not ready to give it an ultra dazzer yet, but I'll give it the dazzer it deserves. I really hope that Monarch takes off from here.
It's and yeah, they're not holding back. They spent money on this show. There's no doubt about it, because we got 2 monsters in this episode, which was pretty great, I thought. Yeah, I love where it's going. I think what locked me in is from the get-go, that episode was like an action scene. It had a momentum the moment the episode started. So well done. Really cool. Really cool. All right, let's move on to our next show on our list. And that is, my friend, no, we don't have a regular show on the list. We're ready to move to the next segment.
Yeah,
That's
it was
how unorganized I am.
Kind of a thin week for you Scott Pilgrim fans out there. We do apologize.
Yes.
This was my fault. I was not able to get to Scott Pilgrim this week, so we decided we're going to finish off the season next week. So aim your disparaging remarks and Rotten Tomatoes at me. I deserve it.
Yeah, that's right. And I'll continue privately to send them obscene messages.
That's fine.
I don't know how many burner phones you got. I'm going to keep finding you, Jace. All right.
I don't know how many pictures of it you can take, but my gosh, keep them coming.
All right. Now, we are moving on to our next segment, which is Sudden Death.
That right there is the most action-packed part of this entire show, and I love it.
It is. And if you don't know what Sudden Death is, this is where we're trying out shows for the first time, and we'll decide whether they're going to continue with the series or if it's a one-off, we'll feature it here as well. And we've got a couple of interesting ones this week, Jace, to go down. And well, I think we're going to go with the big one everyone wants us to talk about. Probably it's Doctor Who special, The Star Beast.
Yes.
Now, before we get started, I'm just going to preface this with I am not really in Doctor Who. I watched some of the Eccleston episodes 15 years ago, but I've never been. I respect it. I honor it. I just never invested time in it. And because of this show, I've had to dive in. So I think I might start it off this week as a newbie. Just give you my impressions of what I thought of it. Okay, let's just bear with me. I'm going to start it off now. All right, look, like I said, I know nothing about the storyline or anything, but what I will say, this was an enjoying episode of fantasy science fiction television. And I'll tell you why, because as a viewer who knew nothing, I walked in the opening moments of Doctor Who explaining who he was, what had happened, setting the scene, really helped me a lot to establish where everything was. And I thought they did a really good job of setting up the characters and the dynamics really well, and really bring the heart of Doctor Who, well, I grew up with in the 70s and 80s, still remains in this modern iteration, which I was shockingly delighted by. And I don't know how to describe it because I feel like I describe it, I'll diminish it, but it's charming. It's very British. It's very kind of locked in. And the villain was great. The villain was, what can you say, Meeps. So put it this way, any villain on television that has a weird name like Meeps or Moopsy, they're a villain, all right? There's no doubt about it. They are the villain, and they're dangerous. And I love the turn. I love the turn of the Meeps, which was wonderfully and like puppet done, not CGI, all practical effects, well, most of it obviously. And David Tennant, I had no idea. I know he's a great actor. I know him from The Purple Man, plus a lot of other British television and things like that. But I'd never watched him as Doctor Who. And I get it now. I get why people think he was incredible. He owns every frame that he is on film. Just absolutely delightful. And so is Catherine Tate. And I've liked her work from other things here. So this was an episode of Discovery. Enough that I'm now committing my time to go back and watch the David Tennant series. So unbelievably awesome. And I went over by a second there, Jace, but it was well deserved.
Shame.
Well, I feel like I've been baptized.
Shame.
I feel like I was lost. And I have... Well, I'm actually joining now. I'll now be able to do that to join along.
One of us. One of us. One of us. Da, da, da.
All right, old school fan. Your turn, all right? You tell me what you think.
Okay, so it's no secret that the last 3 years of Doctor Who have not been stellar. I think Jodie Whittaker was fine. I think her Doctor was fine. I think she was let down by a certain showrunner who shall not be named, who is not named anymore in the opening credits. Thank goodness. Russell T Davies is back, and so is arguably one of the best Doctors of all time, and my favorite companion of all time, Donna Noble. I thought this episode was fantastic. It was funny. It was interesting. Seeing Beep the Meep in live action was just so much fun. And the character was just so awesome. Just, I've been saying, oh no, you pulled out its tummy. I've been saying things like that ever since I watched this. I just loved this episode. I loved everything about it. And I love most of all that Russell T Davies took that sweet, sweet Disney movie. Took that sweet, sweet Disney money, spent it all on a gigantic, beautiful TARDIS, and the rest of it on an episode that basically told transphobes to go bite the big one. And I respect that so much. Watching them scream woke, woke, woke all week is a special kind of joy for me. I just love that, and I really hope there's more. I just loved it. I loved the friendship of the Doctor and Donna continuing. I loved how Rose's inclusion in the story was not only diversity, but it was also essential to the plot. I love how the Dr. Donna was basically resolved, leaving us with wonderful Donna Noble in one piece. And the whole scene with the Doctor remembering Wilf was just heartbreaking, and I loved it. And I want to see Wilf in the future. I'm giving it an Ultra Dazzer because it deserves it. Doctor Who is back, baby. Jump in the TARDIS. You stop that clock.
I have a million questions around it.
You stop that clock late just so I go over.
Yeah, I did. Now I got to ask you though, Jace. Like here's what I want to know. So at this point, he's the only Doctor around, right? So the last Doctor died. It's regenerated back to the 14th or 15th Doctor, whoever he was.
Okay, so David Tennant was the 10th Doctor. Then we had Doctor. Yes, then we had 11, 12, 13, and after 13 had to regenerate, she regenerated. Yeah, she regenerated into David Tennant. David Tennant is not the 10th Doctor. He is the 14th Doctor now. And he does not remember. He doesn't know why he's got his old face again. And it's the first time he's ever done this, although we've had strong indications that he will do it in the future. Because we know in the future, the Doctor apparently regenerates back into Tom Baker. And he becomes the curator. So that's the big mystery, is why is the Doctor's old face back?
Yeah. Because we know the new Doctor Who comes out soon, right? Usually, doesn't it come out? Don't they do a Christmas special or something?
Yeah, it's coming out on the 2nd or the 3rd, I think. So that's
Right.
when the
Okay.
next one comes out. That
So
one's
then,
called
that's when we should see the change of Doctor. You would say
there's going to be 3 specials. I think they're
okay.
playing weekly, and I'm pretty sure on the 3rd special we'll say goodbye to David Tennant again, sadly.
Oh,
and what?
There's 3 specials. I thought this was it.
Oh no, we get 2 more. We get 2 more with
Gee.
David Tennant and Catherine Tate, and then
No
we have
doubt.
to
Well,
say
I'm in.
then we have to say goodbye to them, and then we welcome Shudigawa as the 15th Doctor, and I'm really excited about that. And I'm excited. I'm just excited. I'm excited.
I'm pumped now too because
Yeah.
at the end of that episode, Jace, they go like it's implied that he says the TARDIS could take him anywhere in time and space. I thought we won't see that, but now we're going to get to see what happens. So that's very cool.
Oh
for
yeah.
me. I'm very happy about that.
I'm super excited. Super excited. Love this show. I love it so much.
Well, it's got me enough that I'm willing to go and check out the 10th Doctor the whole go because, damn, he's just so charming. David Tennant in the role.
He is. He's just so great. And, we've had some great doctors. Matt Smith was an incredible doctor. Peter Capaldi was an incredible doctor. And Christopher Eccleston, I wish he'd stuck around longer. I know there are personal reasons why he didn't want to.
Yeah.
And I actually had the chance to meet him, and he's a super charming individual and very, very friendly. Jodie Whittaker, the showrunner, was and made some horrible decisions with the show. But she did her best with what she had, and I think that if she had a better showrunner, she'd be remembered more fondly. But yeah, none of the new doctors have been bad.
All right, we're going to move on to that. So, well, look, without doubt, we're coming back. All right, we'll be reviewing every one of these for sure. So,
I would mail myself to Australia just to kick you in the head if we weren't.
No, we don't.
Just pop out of a box. G'day, mate.
It was a bit like, what is this garbage I'm going to be forced to watch? It was a little bit of that, maybe 5% of that. And then, man, I was sold very quickly. I'd say about 2 minutes into David Tennant's performance, I'm like, I just really like him. So there you go. Let's move on to another show we're going to have a look at, and that is on Netflix, and it's an animated show called Blue-Eyed Samurai. Yep, something that came on my Netflix feed, Jace, and I thought, you know what? Let's have a look at it. Let's have a chat about it and see what it's like. So we watched the first episode. You ready to let us know what you thought, Jace?
I am ready.
Here we go.
First of all, if you've seen the episode, hold on.
Peaches, 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 peaches.
That's a good joke.
So yes, if you know, you know. So Blue-Eyed Samurai, I had no idea what the show was. Jace texted me and says, we need to watch Blue-Eyed Samurai. And I was like, is he hallucinating another show? What is this? I turned it on. It's got a very interesting look. It is CGI, but they do their best to make it look like 2D animation. And if I may say so, they do a darn good job of that. It is not 100% convincing. You can tell it's CGI because the characters are kind of stiff, but you know what? I'm applauding them, and I just see this as one more step to mainstream 2D animation making a comeback through CGI, which I'm all for because I want to see 2D animated Disney movies again one day before I die. The story itself is nothing we haven't seen before. It's a classic revenge story with a almost wordless samurai walking around trying to get revenge for reasons I won't spoil. I really liked the historical background about how those who are seen as impure and not completely Japanese are considered monsters, and how not only that, but the samurai sees themselves as that. Gonna go through this really quickly. It's got some great humor. I love the way that she slowed down the guy who was following her with peaches. And I will say though that the twist ending at the end, not very twisty. The second that the samurai spoke, I knew exactly what was going on. I don't think anybody was surprised by that, but I did laugh at the last line, peaches. Yeah, I thought that was great. I'm curious to see where this goes next. I'm not like head over heels for it, but you know what? It's good. I'm giving it a thumbs up. I like it.
Good stuff. All right. Yes, look, it definitely wasn't obvious. It was definitely very, very obvious that it was without giving away what the twist was going to be. Yeah, look, it's very entertaining. You're right about it is very beautifully drawn, whether that's in a computer or hand drawn. We know it's in a computer. It's fantastic. I really like them establishing the time and place in the beginning. Basically explaining in 1590, Japan cut itself off from the world. Basically, no one that was Japanese came in. And it sets up a very interesting premise. Excuse me. However, the problem it has for me this episode is there's nothing new that's really exciting at this point. It does feel very kind of one note, but I am going to give it the benefit of the doubt because it won't be that for the entire series. So it's going to take corners. It's going to take different directions. And that's what I'm going to hang on for. I do love the sidekick character. I thought he was a nice addition. I thought Mizu is really cool. And I love some of the fighting style. I certainly love the scene with the flesh trader. I thought was a really great tense scene. So I thought that was really well executed. So yes, I'm looking forward to seeing more of this series. If a series job in the first episode is to get you watch the next episode, will they've achieved that for me. So like you, Jace, I'm definitely giving it a thumbs up and just hope that what we get coming forward will be more and we'll get, different twist and turn. But there you go.
Rock on, rock on. I did enjoy the history lesson at the very beginning, though, because
I love a good setup, and that was a good setup.
And
I like what was going on.
I like the fact that the sidekick character has a physical handicap and pairs himself up with a person who believes themselves to be handicapped by their own ethnicity. I thought that was a very interesting pairing, so I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes.
Aaron Sugar turned around and says, we need to have the Meep team up with Moopsy so we can finally get a Dr. Trek crossover.
You want the Meep to die?
I actually brought this up in a chat earlier with Jace around, it just seems like a natural fit that Star Trek and Doctor Who could cross over. And Jace informed me they've done it in the comic books, not very well. But that's something that's doable in this day and age, isn't it? I'm sure the BBC and Paramount could get together. And I could see that working in something like A Strange New Worlds. I think that would be a really, really good fit.
Well, as I told you, if we had gotten a 5th season of Enterprise, they were in negotiations, or at least in the early phases of talking to the BBC about doing a crossover with Doctor Who in the 5th season of Enterprise. Now, whether or not this would have happened is up to debate. I don't think it would have personally, but the intriguing possibility of having Christopher Eccleston or David Tennant appear on the NX-01 with Captain Archer would have been very interesting, and I would have watched it.
Very good.
Oh my goodness, look, it's a ship that's just the same size on the inside as it is on the outside. How quaint.
Maidenless Jess of Chaos agrees with you. It's really heartwarming to watch Transphobe lose.
Oh,
I agree. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm not saying I'm that enlightened, but I'm at the point where I suppose I'm not really I just accepting it for what it is and don't have a judgment call at all on it, because to me it's just, it's a normal thing with that character, right? Because you're referring to the fact that Doctor Who's been a man, a female has been, doesn't really matter.
We're actually referring to Donna's daughter Rose.
Oh,
because that's what the big controversy is. And of course, there was a whole conversation.
What's the controversy?
Well, there was also them asking Beep the Meep what its pronouns were. And now all the trans people was like, what? Trans people exist? Pronouns? No! I can accept a man who lives inside of a box that's bigger on the inside and outside and turns into a woman every once in a while, but don't ask someone their pronouns! That's terrible!
So that's the uproar. Is that the uproar?
Yeah, I'm
it's pretty funny, right?
I'm all for whatever makes terrible people upset. I'm all for
funny.
it.
pretty
it's
funny
hilarious.
lines.
We're laughing at you. We're not
Because
laughing
the
at
fact
Yeah,
they're
make-
spending their emotional time getting upset at something it's so ridiculous is hilarious.
Yeah, make no
So-
mistake, the laughter is directed strictly at you. And if you took it personally,
Yeah.
good. It was
Yes,
intentional.
absolutely, because it was intended for
Yep.
you.
Sorry,
Yeah.
trans lives matter and protect trans kids.
Absolutely. All right, let's move it on, Jace. That's good message to now the next segment, which we like to call Hit It. All right, Jace. It's time to get real Aussie with you, mate, because I'm going to bust out another Aussie classic.
I have to explain.
What happened?
I have to explain myself. I just got 2 claws right in the buttock.
Oh, no.
Just like
Why?
whack at the same
Whoa.
time. Like, she knows we're gonna do Freddy Krueger later, so
Yeah, that's the
Ugh,
problem here. She's
really
getting
hurt.
violent again. Scary stuff. All
She just
right,
came up and
Jace.
just
I'm going to have a piece of that.
this is what will happen if you don't protect trans kids.
All right,
Protect
we're going to
trans
go
cats
Aussie
too.
now, mate. I'm going to take it back to 1979 in Australia. Great year to be an Australian, just like every other year to be an Aussie, mate. It rocks to be us. But in 1979, a certain classic, an Australian cinematic classic that is so well beloved here in Australia, but a lot of Americans really don't know about it. They know the character, but they never really think about this film. And that is Mad Max. Mad Max Fury Road, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, Mad Max Furiosa. They all came from an original film. And the original film, Mad Max, was made in 1979. Now, this is an incredible story because the director, George Miller, and his partner were doctors at the time. They weren't filmmakers, they were doctors. They raised $400,000 and they filmed this little post-apocalyptic movie out outside of Melbourne for about 5-6 weeks. Ends up making $100 million globally. It was in the Guinness Book of World Records as one of the most profitable films ever. But that little film spawned a franchise that has now gone over 35 years. And the most interesting thing about this film, Jason, is in Australia, it is especially with your older generation, well beloved. But they hate the sequels. You know why? Because here in Australia, and Fairy Penguin should be able to tell you as well, there used to be a real rivalry between two makes of cars. You're a Holden man or you're a Ford man. And this car featured Holdens and Fords. So all the car nuts across Australia loved and obsessed this film. But the moment they went wacky post-apocalyptic and they had spears sticking out of the side of trucks, they checked out. But it's still a film worth looking at because we get to see the origins of, Mad Max himself. And there he is in his Interceptor, which is absolutely amazing. And look how young he looks there, Jason.
Oh wow, that
He's
was
up
before
top.
all the.
That's before he went crazy.
That's before the crazy period. Yes.
Yeah. So, playing Max Patowski. He's a cop in this film, Jason, and really the film's around him. And it's a society where lawlessness is kind of reigning now. It isn't post-apocalyptic yet, but you can see the world is going to hell in a handbasket. And he plays a cop in one of the. Now, there's not that many kind of police departments left because they've all been wiped out. So he plays one on there, kind of in the country, and it's a story about him and his family and what happens to him. And it's the origin story of the Max that we know and love throughout the sequel films. It's a wonderful performance. You could tell it's the star maker film for Mel Gibson too, because this was it. He made this. After this, he was getting offers overseas. He was starting to do prestige films. So it was certainly the breakout film for him. And of course, George Miller, who went on to, be one of the most renowned directors of all time. Well, not of all time, but certainly in this generation, is a well-respected director. It's a classic you need to check out because it will inform you about the Max character going forward. I think it's impossible if you're an Australian, you've seen the film because we force it down kids' throats. It just has to be. Even though it's rated R and it's violent and all that kind of thing, it's just part of it. So I'm going to get you a copy somehow, Jason. You've got to check out the original Mad Max. And any of you guys out there haven't seen it, check it out. I think you'll be surprised how quirky and interesting and enjoyable the film is.
My great shame, I've never
Mhm.
seen it.
No.
And I apologize to the nation of Australia. I promise I will fix this disfigurement as
Well, if
quickly
you
as
fly over,
possible.
you won't get out of the airport unless you've seen it.
Yeah.
It's like part of
They'll be
part of
throwing
customs
DVDs
now.
and Blu-rays at
Yeah.
Blu-rays at, watch this film, mate. Watch it. Watch it.
Watch it. And most also interesting enough in here, the villain from this film is the same actor who played the villain, the masked Imperator from Mad Max Fury Road. That is
Oh,
actually
really?
the same actor.
That's in Morton Joe.
That is a Morton Joe playing a
Wow.
different villain than the original
'Cause
Mad
I
Max.
did
So-
see Fury Road. I think Fury Road is an absolute masterpiece.
It is. It is. It is absolutely brilliant. All right, so that was my hidden gem of the week. Jace, what have you got, buddy?
So, 2 minutes before broadcast, I'm late coming in, and Jace tells me, "Hey, you forgot about your hidden gem, didn't you?" And I thought, of course I didn't. What kind of unprofessional idiot do you think I am? I had totally forgotten about my hidden gem, so I had to rack my brain really quickly and upload an image right before we went on. And ladies and gentlemen, I was successful because I picked a true hidden gem. I'm not even sure if you can find it on streaming these days unless you buy it. But my pick is Superman and the Legion of Superheroes Season 2. Not Season 1, Season 2. And I will tell you why.
Okay.
So, the Legion of Superheroes is a superhero team from the DC universe that hail from 1,000 years in the future. They are inspired by the tales of Superman and the Flash and Wonder Woman, and they form their own superhero team to not only protect Earth, but also to protect this gigantic federation of planets that has cropped up all over the galaxy. So this cartoon, during the first season, followed them. Superboy, or they had to call him Superman back then because of a lawsuit that was ongoing back then. But basically, Superboy is taken to the future and joins the team to basically hone his superpowers before he goes back to the present to become Superman. It was a goofy, stupid cartoon. The animation was kind of ugly. The stories were kind of hokey, and it was just kind of painful every week. There were a couple of good episodes, but not many. Certainly not enough to really catch my attention. And then in the second season, they do a soft reboot. And whenever I say a soft reboot, they basically blew everything and everyone up and started over. And it was such a clever, exciting season because not only did they par the team down, because they had so many members, they pared the team down by putting members in the hospital, which they did not return from. And they were stupid characters too, like Bouncing Boy. Who cares about Bouncing Boy? They put Bouncing Boy out of commission. They put Saturn Girl out of commission. And they just went wild. They brought in the super villain called Imperiex, who was basically destroying universes. And he comes to the Legion of Superheroes universe to destroy everything. So they decide to go, they need help. And all of a sudden, Superman appears out of a portal, but it's not Superman. It's Superman from the 44th century. So he's like a descendant from Superman. And he's just no nonsense. I will kill you if you get in my way. And then they decide, you know what? We need more help. Let's bring back Superboy. They bring back Superboy, but they miss and they get Superman. So he's like Superman now. So you got two Supermen on the team. They bring in a Chameleon Boy, who's a shapeshifter. And then in a later episode, they blow one of the characters' arms off, and he has to get a robotic arm. They kill off a character, which it's kind of cheating because she's triplicate girl, so she could make 3 versions of herself. But they kill off one of the duplicates, so now she's duo damsel, I think is what she ends up calling herself. Which, you know, it still had some goofy parts in it. But I remember I was talking to some young people back then, because we were talking about cartoons, and I said, have you guys ever seen the Legion of Superheroes? And these hardened teenagers like, oh my gosh, that show got so good. There's one episode in particular. It's called Who Am I? And in it, Chameleon Boy has to go undercover. But he has to go like way undercover. So he changes his shape, and then they basically like record the bad guy's brain into his so that he thinks he's that guy. And he goes in and he does his undercover stuff. And then he has to go through this long process about, trying to go back to who he was because he's almost got like PTSD. And
Mm.
as he's watching this one bit of this private conversation between himself and Superman, Superman is watching the screen and he says, "Wait, I don't remember any of this. What's going on?" It's not Superman. The bad guys put their own shapeshifter in. And so
Oh,
now this bad guy as Superman is realizing, "Oh my God, I'm not Superman. What's going on?" It was a twist nobody saw coming.
oh,
But
very cool.
if you watch this show and checked out in the first season, I strongly urge you to go check out the second season because not only is it a huge step up in quality, but they actually tell a season-long arc and they conclude it in an incredibly and unexpectedly awesome way because Imperiex basically finds out he's not the biggest fish in the ocean. And
Mm.
it was so good. So, my hidden gem, Legion of Superheroes, season 2, not season 1, season 2.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Fantastic. All right, we guys have got plenty of shows to check out. Not only what we've been watching week to week, but our recommendations every week. And they're good recommendations. And if you don't agree, well, you're wrong. So
Exactly. And if you want to be
absolutely.
right, why don't you give us some recommendations? Tell us about a show that we should be watching that we're not.
Yes.
We are
Absolutely.
not omnipotent. I'm close, but not quite there. I see all, but I know nothing. So please let us know what we should be watching, and maybe we'll give it a look.
Yeah. Well, my wife thinks I've got it because she says I'm a know-it-all. So she clearly agrees that I must be a god. Anyway, that's the kind of level of jokes we do here on the show. Let's go through some of the awesome messages we've been getting tonight. Oh, Maidenless Jess of Chaos, she's a cat lady, I think, because she has 4 kitties. Lilith Curry, Noodles and Oreo, 2 girls, 2 boys. I have 2
Oh,
girls, 1 boy, 3 cats. You've got
3 girls.
1,700,
I
3
have
girls.
3. I have 3 girls. I have Demona, I have Murder Bean, and I have Battle Cat.
Yeah,
And then my 2
absolutely.
dogs. That
Yeah.
one and the other one.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Mainless Jess of Chaos also mentioned that the Doctor Who special really hit hard to her too because her daughter is trans. So that episode hits her hard. So that's fantastic now in a way that at least television is representing normal life for people who are living lives out there. So which is great. Fairy Penguins, Aussie Fairy, right? Mad Max, dope.
Now, is he
It's a
saying
cult
Mad Max is
classic.
dope, or is he saying
She is
Mad
saying
Max dope?
she
It,
is saying
talking to me saying, Mad Max dope. You haven't seen it. Watch it, dope. Or watch
no,
it on
either
dope.
way. Either way. Yeah, shame on us. Yeah, Jay. Shame on us. Jay, Mad Max is a must watch. It is a must watch.
I will watch it.
I may even have to try to bring it up on a VHS file. One of the sort of other amazing shows we have here on the Jason
Absolutely.
Lancaster channel.
Absolutely. I may have to do a Jason finally watches Mad Max. I don't know. We'll see.
That would be really interesting too, because you
Yeah.
haven't seen number 2 either, have you?
No, I have not seen number 2. And is there a number 3 or is that Beyond Thunderdome?
Yeah, that's Beyond Thunderdome.
Okay,
So
I
that
have seen
leads in.
Beyond Thunderdome
So
because
you've seen 3 and 4.
yeah, I have seen Beyond Thunderdome because Tina Turner is a goddess.
But
Two
you know,
men
we don't need
enter,
another
one
hero.
man leave. Oh, she needed an Oscar for
Master
that.
Blaster. Just amazing. Amazing. As a kid, all I wanted to do in the backyard was to build the Thunderdome so I could go swinging. It was like the ultimate.
I always
Anyway.
wanted to hire the Incredible Hulk to carry me around and let me be Master and he be Blaster. I always wanted that.
I also wanted my house to run on pig shit. Oh, there we go. That was a joke. Dirty joke. But there we go.
I thought that was acceptable power in Australia.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, anyway, you can keep things going. Methane with what we eat down here. Yeah, we could fuel ourselves with the methane we express. All right, now of course that's the end of the show, but of course it's not the end of what's on the Jason Roy Gaston channel. Like I said, check out the channel, guys, for some really amazing content. VHS Vault is going really strong at the moment. Jason's reviews are going off the chart. I have no idea why he wanted to go and see Napoleon, but he did, and he reviewed it. So go check that out amongst a slew of other movies. Also, going on at the channel, we've got some gaming going on. I'm terrible at video games, so the best way to deal with the shame is to show it publicly. So you can always catch me playing super old video games on the channel as well. And I feel like I'm missing stuff. Oh, He-Man, if you're into He-Man and the Master
Oh,
Universe
yes.
like us, because He-Man rocks, check out The Power of J. Scott as well. Now, besides that, Jason sells himself everywhere. He's that guy. He will sell himself to do anything, including
$20
being
is
on-
$20.
$20 is $20, including being on the Captain's Quadrant, which he will be on tomorrow night for a very special episode. Jason with Captain Joe Dove there. It's 100th episode. There's supposed to be some big things going on.
Well, I can tell you because it's knowledge. We're gonna finally be covering Subspace Rhapsody.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows,
Episode.
I may sing.
But look, the whole idea is to pitch to watch the show. Maybe.
I may sing if you don't show up.
That's okay, that'll work. All right, let's if you want to find me, you can find me all over this channel. I also do a little, because I'm a nerd into movies, I do the behind the scenes show every week where we talk about some of the stories in the Hollywood industry, something called Pop Culture Spread, moving and streaming news. All right, and just before we go, if you've enjoyed what you've watched tonight, and God, we hope you did, don't forget to please like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, because what it does for us means a lot to us. So thank you very much, guys. That has been If You Don't Agree, You're Wrong. And we're out of here, Jace, for another week.
Understand, I'm gonna love you till the very end.
See you guys.
Peaches, 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 peaches.
I thought you were going to play out Peaches, because I just would have let that go.
I love you. Ah! Now, if there was only a song about pumpkins.
If that song doesn't win Best Song at the Oscars next year, it is a tragedy.
It is, well, it'd be typical. No, Jack Black needs, I want to see Jack Black sing that song on stage.
He'll have, if it's nominated, he will.
He
So
will.
that'll be
In a
amazing.
Bowser costume.
Yeah, and you know he will.
You know it. You know it.